call the meeting to order. I would like to begin by acknowledging that we are in Treaty 1 territory and the traditional homeland of the Métis Nation. The panel today, to my far left is Laurie Davidson, Gisela Rempel, I'm Robert Buss, the secretary is Cara Belshaw, and the assessor today is Dutchin Ramswag. We will be hearing applications for revision of the assessment roll in accordance with the Municipal Assessment Act. The matters for which revision is requested have been described in each application, and we will limit discussion to those matters. The statements that applicants or the assessor make at this hearing are sworn testimony, and anyone speaking to the matters must be sworn in. Be advised that comparisons of assessments of properties are not considered evidence of market value by this board. The Board of Revision is appointed annually by council and is independent of it and the city administration. It makes its decisions on the basis of the evidence provided at this hearing and issues a written order that will be mailed to all parties as soon as possible. Please note that the board's decisions with respect to an application may be appealed to the Manitoba Municipal Board if the matter pertains to assessed value or classification, or to the Court of Queen's Bench if the matter pertains to the application of exemptions from taxation. Should you wish to appeal, information on how to do so will be included with the board's order. With respect to the hearing process, I will confirm the matters to be addressed with each applicant following the swearing in. We will then have the assessor's testimony followed by questions that the applicant may have, and then the applicant's testimony followed by questions from the assessor or a panel. Each side will have an opportunity to summarize if they wish. Once all the evidence about an application has been brought forward, the applicant may leave. The process will repeat for each item on the docket today. The session will close after all the applications have been heard, and the board will deliberate in private and make its decisions. You will receive the order by registered mail as soon as possible. As information, all public hearings are live streamed and recorded and will be part of the public record. And I asked today that we have quite a few on the docket that everybody be as brief as possible and give us the facts, and we will try and work through them in an orderly manner. First up, 73 Inman, Philip Nixon. If you would like to take a seat, Mr. Nixon.
Will you swear in this morning?
Forum.
Please state your name.
Dutchin Ramswag.
Do you affirm the evidence you'll present today is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you.
Thank you.
How's your speaker? I guess you'll hear. Let me know. Will you swear in or affirm today?
Swear.
Please state your name.
Philip Nixon.
Do you swear the evidence you present today is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I swear.
Thank you. Do you have anything to distribute to the panel this morning? Thank you so much. Sorry. It's okay. Grab that one.
Dude.
Welcome. And I'm going to give you guys this too. Jim has asked me to hand this out to each applicant. And this has your relation to his brief.
Okay, Mr. Assessor, when you're ready,
Just a moment.
the floor is yours.
Mr. Chairman, please. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm ready to go.
Okay.
Just before we start here, Mr. Chairman, do you want me to read out the roll number or just Yeah, civic address would
The
suffice.
roll number, please, and the address.
Okay, thank you. All right, with respect to the property on number 73 Inman Avenue with the roll number 08-00184-7500. Little description of the subject property here would be a one-story single-family home. It was built in 1924 and it had undergone some sort of renovation enough to cause an effective age change, in which case the effective age that we have it here would be 1954, so you want to take a note of that. The property is 768 square feet to the full basement. As per our record, and the basement development is about a little bit more than half, which is 490 square feet as per our record. And you notice here, because it may come up, you may notice that with the land there's some commercial influence and it's a corner lot. $251,000 is the assessed value for 2020 assessment, which is of course based on reference date of April 1st, 2018. Excuse me. You'd want to take a note here too, Mr. Chairman, that there was a previous sale of the property with $246,000 as per Land Titles Office record. It was registered on the 6th of April 2016, so that's very close to 2 years time adjustment after the sale of the home. So we actually take note of that when we were updating the records of the property. And so now we're looking at a small increase in terms of an inflationary value based on market evidence at $251,000. So with that said, there are 4 comparable properties here that we have. And each of these comparables in the same neighborhood characteristic area. And they are one-story home. And they have various effective age change for reasons that the property, these ones here being built, I'm talking about the comparables now, between 1924 and 1941, effective age change, as you can see there, just immediately below the year built. Now, comparable number 1, we have an effective age change on that one as well. 1960 would be the effective age, 716 square feet, which is marginally smaller than that of the subject property. And that one there, $246,800 is the time adjusted sale price. As you know, Mr. Chairman, I will continuously talk about the time adjusted sale price on each of these properties. I do not emphasize price per square foot. I do that in my reconciliation when I determine whether one property will have different characteristics than the other. That said, you would also note that comparable number 1 does not have a finished basement, so if you're looking at the difference between value, you can see it right here that comparable number 1 does not have a finished basement as opposed to that of the subject property. Now we move on to comparable number 2. Again, it's a one-story home with an effective age change, slightly larger in a part basement. Again, nothing in the basement, and that property, $253,700 is the time adjusted sale price. Comparable number 3 is the same, is on the same street, except it's on the other side of the street. Effective age of 1949 and the size of about the same, 746 square feet in the part basement, nothing in the basement. $241,200 is the time adjusted sale price on that comparable. And lastly, comparable number 4 and number 37 Sherwood Place. It's a one-story home with an effective age of 1961 and a size of a home that is about 100 square feet smaller than that of the subject property. And this comparable has a finished basement of some sort, and $240,000 is the time-adjusted sale price on that. Mr. Chairman, when you look across the board and we see what the properties, time-adjusted sale price of these properties, they range between $240,000 for the lowest one, which is comparable number 4, to $253,000 comparable number 2. $251,000 is fairly assessed, Mr. Chairman, and I ask that you confirm that value. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Ramswack. Do you have any questions on what the assessor has presented here?
Just one. You don't enter the home at any point. This is
I'm speaking to
completely.
the things I don't hear very well. In fact, I don't hardly hear at all.
Any better?
Is that okay?
Any better?
Yeah, go ahead, please.
You don't enter the home at any point, correct? This information is.
Hold on a moment. I don't know if this thing is on or not.
I think it is on.
It is?
Yeah.
You want me to pull it like right up, like a rock star?
Maybe.
You have to sing it.
We tested it yesterday, so the volume's good. Try again, just do a test.
Any better?
Test.
I sound flattered.
Just the microphone on?
That would work. Yeah, there we go.
There we go. Okay, should work.
Okay. You don't
Thank you.
You don't enter the home at any point in time, so you're relying completely off realtor information that comes through on.
As well as multiple listing service, in which case I would have a look at the pictures and all the information, multiple listing.
Okay. That is my only question.
Okay, thank you. Panel members, you have a question?
I have a question for the assessor. I'm just kind of looking at your time-adjusted sale price against your time-adjusted sale price per square foot, and I'm looking at the square feet of these houses. They're all about the same, but are they all usable space, like in your judgment, like in terms of, living room, bathrooms, bedrooms? Or is it all deemed usable space?
Sorry, would you repeat your question, please?
Sure. I'm looking at this living area, the square foot, and it runs from 768 for the subject, 716, 924, 746, 672. And I look at the assessment per square foot, and then the total. So all I'm really wondering is, in terms of the living area, square foot, is it all usable space?
Yes, there would be. There would be. We typically call it living area.
Okay, and do you know when the last physical inspection was done, or?
I wouldn't know. I sometimes rely on certain information that we keep on
Sure,
record, so
for
I take
sure.
a quick look
Okay.
and be able to tell you if there was somebody that actually went into the property. More often than not, we don't get a chance to do that. Unless, of course, we go to
Yeah,
municipal
yeah.
court hearing.
Yes.
This information we will have was taken, changes, update. No, we don't have an evidence of a physical inspection of the property by any of the assessor, no.
Okay, thank you very much.
Gisela, question?
Yes, I'm wondering, I see that the subject property is next to a back lane with a commercial influence in front of it on St. Anne's Road. And I noticed that none of the other properties have any kind of a commercial influence. The only influence is Comp 3, which is on an external corner. So can you tell me, were there no other properties that were in a similar situation that had been sold prior to the required date that you could have looked at?
That's a fair question. Obviously, if you had any other property, we would have brought them, and if we didn't, then I would only have one comparable, right? Which is the one that you mentioned, that had a sort of an external corner. So you see, what we attempt to do is to find out the properties, A, that must be sold, absolutely have to be sold, and must be sold before April 1st, 2018, as you know. And secondly, we want to get the properties that are very, very highly similar. Now, what is more highly similar would be the size of the home, the age of the home, and the general location of the property. As to whether or not it must be all of the comparable must have a commercial influence, that is done during the reconciliation process and a slight adjustment.
Okay, thank you. I have no further questions.
I have no questions, so if you would like to give us your evidence.
Okay. I've supplied you guys a nice little care package. It's pretty simple.
Okay.
There's a set of emails from a realtor when I attempted to sell the home in the spring of this year. And then I have the original letter that I had written when I was going about appealing in the first place. I want to focus on the email side of it because it's the best evidence I have for you guys. The house itself, I bought it. I made a lot of mistakes when I purchased the home. I did it by myself, which was mistake number one. And number two was the timeline that I gave myself to purchase a home was too short. So this house looks really attractive from the roadside. And as you'll see through these emails, the slope in the house is drastic. The footing at the back of the home is degrading due to the trees and root system on the property, which has eaten away at the soil below the footing and has dropped to the back right corner of the house. The slope right now is effectively 4 inches, so you could put a golf ball on one side of the house and it will roll straight to the other side, and it will gain speed as it goes. We attempted to sell in the spring. I attempted to come in right at the price point that I purchased the home at, and we had no luck with that amount. So as the conversation goes on, and as you'll see through these emails that I provided, the conversation very quickly changes when the market starts explaining to us where they feel the home is. So I'm going to direct your attention to the second last page. The email title, or Wednesday, May 8th, 2019, at 9:54 p.m. from Linda Van Diebroek. She was the realtor that we had gone into a contract with. After having 63 showings at that point in time, which was about a month and a half, we had no second showings after that, and everyone was commenting on the slope and the condition of the home overall. She is convinced that it will not sell if that foundation is not fixed. And if you jump to, I'm going to jump back one more page to the email I've highlighted there, Saturday, April 13th, 2019. She was a little more optimistic that the house would maybe sell for $239,900.
Okay. This sales information is what we call post-reference.
Okay.
Everything after April 1st, 2018, we will be looking at for the next reassessment.
Okay.
But anyway, go ahead.
The state of the home as it stands right now, I would never be able to sell it for anywhere near what I bought it for. And the assessed amount is far over what I bought it for as well. Well, not far over, but it is over what I bought it for. On top of that, with the commercial property right next to me, I see more traffic down that back lane. I see more noise, and I have had issues with vandalism and break-ins last year. The garage was broken into because it's right on that alleyway and very easily accessible. And from my perspective, the assessment is too high for what the home would actually sell for right now. And if the assessment is based off what the market value of the home is, I think it is an unfair representation of what the home actually provides.
Thank you.
Keep it simple.
Do you have any questions, Mr. Assessor?
Just a brief question, Mr. Chairman, thank you. Now, as you correctly pointed out, Mr. Chairman, what they call the post-reference sale, question to the appellant here. You are aware that the information that you're giving us are more current up to 2019, and nothing happened about, no conversation up to and until April 1st, 2018, is that correct?
I am aware of that. I will state that regardless of the timing of this, the foundation issue has been in full effect from the moment I bought it.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I have no other further question on this. You got all the information that are presented. It suggests that 2018 April 1st to 51 is what we like to roughly confirm. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. We'll have questions from the panel, if any.
I have one short question. I noted in the email that you referenced us on Wednesday, May 8th at 9:54. Your realtor, I think it is, cites it will cost $30,000 to $50,000 to fix the foundation. Have you gotten any
As of this
quotes,
point,
et cetera?
as of this point in time, no.
Okay.
It's next on my agenda.
Okay.
In all honesty, I'm going through school right now, and I was kind of hoping that going through the construction trade would hopefully find me a contact or something that would help with that situation, so it wouldn't be 30 to 50,000. But as it stands, it hasn't. I haven't got around to that yet.
Okay, thank you.
I just have one question, and that is, in view of the slope in the foundation in your home and your inability to sell it, regardless of, you know, what the realtor says you might be able to sell it for, can you tell me what you think might be fair as an assessment for your home?
I would love to tell you 200,000, but I think that's not reasonable. The realistic price that I stated on the summary page that I have you, a realistic price of 229,000 is the final parting from Linda where she thinks that house would sell. I think that is a fair price.
May I ask, did you have a home inspection at the time that you purchased the home?
And I was led to believe in the home inspection that it was a stone foundation, it was done moving, and it's done nothing but move.
Okay, thank you very much.
I don't have a question, but I would encourage you to, regardless of what we do, you should contact the assessment department and ask them to come out and have a look at your house.
Okay.
Because if there's problems with the foundation, et cetera, they should know about it and adjust whatever adjustments need. Any need for summation, Mr. Assessor?
Mr. Chairman, I'm good. Thank you.
Mr. Nixon, any summation?
Thank you for taking the time to hear me, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And is there anybody here from 67 Sadler? 63 Seaside? 47 Portside Drive? Mr. Dandino?
Yeah.
If you would have a seat, please.
Will you both be speaking today?
I may say a few words.
Will you swear in or affirm? Yes, please state your name.
Estelle Dandino.
Do you affirm the evidence you'll present today is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do, thank you.
Please
I'll
state your name.
affirm. Alan
Okay.
Daddy.
Do you affirm the evidence you'll present today is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Thank you. The assessor wanted to share this with you guys as well. We have briefs
How
there.
many do you need?
And it's 5. Thank you.
Assessor, when you're ready.
Correct in a moment, Mr. Chairman, thank you so much. Before we get started, Mr. Chairman, Ms. Banshaw, if you haven't already done so, do you mind those things with the assessment thing, would you point out each of the?
I've been giving in to them as well as the panel members.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Before I get going, Mr. Chairman, I just want to take a peek and see what's going on here and see what it is. I would get a chance to review this, as you know. But I do want to say that I had a conversation with the appellants, Alan, some time ago. Couldn't really come to any definitive arrangement or conclusion, so here we're going to let you decide. The panel is going to decide that eventually. You may want to make your case at some point in time. Now, with respect to the subject property on 47 Port Side with the excuse me, roll number 08021123800 in Norman Park. Now, this property is a one-story home. To describe the subject property a little bit, a one-story home that was built in 2008. It is 1,734 square feet with a full basement that is fully finished, multiple bathrooms. Now, what I have here is there's a park influence. However, in the conversation with Mr. Dan, is that what your name? Sir, thank you. With the conversation I had with him, he was suggesting that the park is not there, but I suspect that it's possible that the park is there or was there on April 1st, 2018, and perhaps wouldn't be there afterwards. Is it something like that? We'll cross the bridge when we get there. How's that?
Yeah, we'll explain that later.
Okay. All right, good. $718,000 is the assessed value of the property. And so that as we go on here, Mr. Chairman, I thought that perhaps the $718,000 would be a little high, like it should be under the 700. It's just, that's the direction where Mr. Dandu and I were heading, but we didn't fully complete our discussion. That said, the four comparables that I have here, I thought perhaps number 67 was the one I put my most weight on. But anyways, let me just describe that a little bit and then talk about the rest as we go on. It is, of course, in the same neighborhood characteristic area in Norman Park, and a one-story single-family home was built in the same year as that of the subject property. And it's 1,800 square feet, which is about 64 square feet larger than that of the subject property. As you can see, it's got a fully finished basement, and the other characteristics you can see below. This property does have a park influence as well, and this one here, the time adjusted sale price, and that's where I'm going to go right away, $690,600. Now, in the research that I've been doing, I didn't get a chance to look at the property inside, of course, the subject I mean. It wasn't in multiple listing for me to do that either. Obviously, it was a home that was built by Mr. Dandu. And I thought that this was probably the one I'm going to compare it highly. But when I was looking at it, I saw from a Google map, I saw the outside of this property, and I saw the multiple listing on the subject. And it does appear that even 67 Portside Drive could be superior to that of the subject property. So I guess what I'm saying here too, you can understand why I was thinking that perhaps 718 is a little bit on the high side. The other three comparables that I have here, this is comparable number 2 on Marine Drive, built in 2009 at 1,860 square feet, with a full basement, fully finished. It also has a park influence. But that one would be definitely superior to that of the subject property at $919,000. We move on then to comparable number 3, 137 Marine Drive, built in 2010. Unfortunately, the same size, just a little bit bigger than that of the subject. and doesn't have a basement finish, and it's $567,000 the time adjusted sale price now. Naturally, when we do a reconciliation, we have to add in the value, the contributory value that is, to the $567,000. That would take that higher than that comparable. Then comparable number 4 on Brambleford Crescent, a slightly older home, built in 2001, so there'd be a there would be a little condition or age adjustment on that property. It's also a couple of hundred square feet larger, another little adjustment to be done on that. It's got a parking place at $593,000. I like to think that over $600,000 for sure would be a fair value in this property, and I don't mean 601, mind you. But anything under the $690,000, which would be the one at 67 Port Side Drive. When you consider Port Side Drive being on the same side of the same street, about the same size of the home built around the same time, and I like to think that based on information we have here, it does have some kind of a parking place. Then, there it is, Mr. Chairman. That's my evidence, that's my information, and the rest is up to you. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Assessor. Do you have questions of what the assessor has presented here this morning?
Just one question for explanation. You mentioned the term contributory value. Can you explain how it works?
Okay, now, contributor value, as I did specifically talk about the rec room area, if you recall. You see, a property, it could be, somebody could build a house, so let's say the rec room, and the cost of the rec room is, say, $40,000. But the market evidence suggests that based on that particular characteristics, that one item alone, the market is only going to pay $30,000 for it, and then that $30,000 is what contributes to the value of the property. Or if it is higher than the cost, then it is still going to be based on how much it contributes to value. And it could be any other thing. It could be a fireplace, it could be a garage, it could be a larger lot. It contributes more to value. So I use that term a lot, and you would probably hear me using the term for the rest of the morning here too.
So the contributory value you're referring to is one of the comparables or to my property?
Well, if a property has something that is different from yours, then it contributes more than it would for yours. Then contribute to the value. So, in other words, take comparable number 3 that doesn't have a rec room. So your property would have an additional value, all things being equal. If the only difference between your property and comparable number 3 is the rec room, then that would be the difference in value. But there could be multiple items, as there usually are multiple items. You did present a appraisal report, and I'm sure you had a chance to look at it. And when you look at it under the grid, whatever page it would be, 2 or 3 or 4, you would see that they would always have contributory values to make the adjustment and to come up with what is a pure value.
Thank you.
Okay.
I have a question too. You say that the house that you compared is on the same side of the street, which is Park Street, but you don't mention, probably because you've never been to our house, that we're actually around the bend, so we're not facing the park like they are. So it's not the same.
I can appreciate that, and you would always be taken into consideration. You may want to give that as your evidence, Mr. Landu.
Thank you. Panel members?
Just a quick question. You said, I think I heard you say 67 Portside was what you deem to be the best comparable here?
Well, when I look at this, I would think that that is the one that I'd be looking at more
Yeah.
closely, yes.
Okay, are they the same builder, like Portside and the subject property?
That's a very good question. From time to time, I do try to look into that when I'm getting enough time and write that down. This time, I don't think that I have that much evidence, although I know his property was built by some enterprise 777 whatever.
He may
right?
provide that in
Yeah,
his
I
evidence, so
know,
I'll just wait.
I know, but no, I sometimes get that, and it's good because then I determine quality because having, I should have said this at some point, I did sell real estate for many years, a couple of decades actually, so I know the builders and I know what they're
Exactly.
likely to do.
And this
In
is
fact,
a
I know that
subdivision of a
quality
certain
codes, the
year.
division have about 3 or 4 different
Levels,
divisions and
yeah.
so on, yeah.
Okay, thank you.
So
I'll
quality
make-
does make a
and
difference.
make
Thank
note
you
of
for
the
that
brought up.
question.
Thank you.
Gisela?
Yes, I'm just wondering, the subject home is on a pie-shaped lot, correct? And I'm assuming the home faces port side, not the back of the lot? And if I hold up this map,
Mhm.
is this the park area back here?
I would suspect it is, yes.
Okay. Do you know which way the home faces?
I beg your pardon?
Do you know which way the home faces? Does it face the park or does it face Portside Drive?
No, that would face, more than likely would have the civic address on in the street. You wouldn't, what you have at the back lane would be the back lane. There's no street there.
Okay, the other thing I was wondering is, did you ask to inspect the home?
In the conversation I had with him, no, I didn't ask that question. We had a conversation, time was not, I should say this so that you know that for the rest of the day, should that idea come up over timing, I was away for 3 weeks from our work, and it's only got back a few days ago to start working on this. I explained that to Mr. Dandy as well. The time really didn't permit us to do a great deal.
Okay, thank you very much.
Okay. I have a question about the value. You said you felt 718 was high. I think the onus is on the assessment department to prove the value, so I would like you to give us a value. If 718 isn't the right value, what is the right value?
You'd like me to suggest what I think it should be, is that,
Yes,
that's your
that's right.
question, Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
All right, now, give me a moment to think this one over, Mr. Chairman, rather than just jumping the guns here. Under the circumstances, Mr. Chairman, I would like to think now, because I've seen and I'm gonna concentrate on both sides. I know that the Brown Beauty is, I'm guessing it to be a little bit inferior because of what I see.
Well, you don't
between
have to,
monuments.
you don't have to go over your
Do all of
information
them,
again,
but
you just have to
I
tell me
would-
the value.
I would like to think around the $650,000 value, Mr. Chairman.
650?
Yeah.
Thank you very much. And while I'm at it, I would ask you if you are you happy with 650,000 or?
No.
No? Okay. Okay, that's all my questions. The floor is yours, sir.
Thank you.
Madam.
Excuse me, I have notes here that I'm gonna follow through so I don't miss any of my points. So I'll read through that and I'll refer to the documentation that I have to you. So we had a professional appraisal done by Valerie Johnson. She's a CRA P8. She used Brambleford Estate as one of her city comparables, so we used one of the city assessors' comparables. Also, I did a comparable spreadsheet, which you will find after the appraisal report, and I used two of the city's comparables, specifically 67 Portside Drive as well, and 137 Marine Drive. So we used 3 of the 4 comparables that the city assessor provided. I'd like to note that 115 Marine Drive comparable provided by the city appraiser should not be considered as a comparable due to several factors that will be clarified in the discussion. Even assuming the current assessment of our property at $718,000, the property located at 115 Marine Drive is assessed at over $200,000 higher than our property, which is 28% higher than our current assessment. The city assessor indicated today that comparable properties must be highly similar. I don't think that a property that's in excess of $200,000 of our assessed value is a true comparable, so I'd eliminate that one entirely. For background purposes, the Van Hall Estates was developed in 2 price markets with different basic building requirements, different codes. Phase 1, which includes streets east of Marine Drive, have similar minimum house sizes and exterior finishing requirements. So it's not fair to compare homes on Marine Drive as one-story houses average $800,000 in 2016-2018 sales, whereas Phase 1, which I'm located in, single-story homes averaged $600,000 in 2016-2018 sales. We appreciate that being located near these higher-priced homes influence the market value of our home, but this should already be reflected in the sales results that I'm pointing out. We understand that the assessment process is not an exact science. However, it's assumed to have, well, I'll leave this paragraph out here for now. The second last paragraph, our appraiser entered our home and has provided photos and an extensive report detailing the neighborhood, the site, the improvements in our property. I'm not going to go through the report. You're going to review that, and I'm sure you've seen many of them in the past, so we'll pass on that. But what I'd like to point out is that she's provided a direct comparison of reasonable comparable properties, as well as a cost approach analysis, which is in line with the city assessor's cost analysis. Her square footage cost is $348.90, which is precisely in the range of the city assessor's comparisons other than the 115 Marine Drive property that we already suggested you should discount. Under the City of Winnipeg's assessment and taxation department, the system is considered fair. So what we'd like to do is use our appraisal value. If we go to the second page of my notes here, the second paragraph, or first full paragraph, you'll note that the city assessors appraised their property at $414.07 per square foot. If we take the average cost of the assessor's comparisons, it's $374.34 per square foot, which would assess our house at $649,000, which is basically the value that he's determined our property is worth. But this also includes the value of 115 Marine Drive, which we feel is not a probable comparison due to its value being 28% higher, in addition to other factors. One of the factors is that particular house. I'm familiar with the development, the area. We've been there since it was started 11 years ago. That particular house and the one next door to it was built by a very reputable builder, Merrick Homes, for himself and for his daughter. So it's got the best of everything in it. So I don't think that that's anywhere near a comparison to our house.
That's 115 Marine Drive you're referring to?
Correct.
Thank you.
So the average cost per square foot of our appraisers' comparables and our comparables, which you see on a separate spreadsheet, which by the way include again 3 out of 4 of the city's assessors' comparisons, is $335.23 per square foot for a market value between $578,690 and $581,289. This is less than the $605,000 market value of our professional appraisal and reflects the average price per square foot of the majority of comparables from both sides. I think this demonstrates that she's not attempted to lowball her appraisal for property tax purposes. Our appraiser did not include the following additional influences in her report, which may have lowered her valuation. If you'll note on the letter from the Winnipeg Legal Services Department, so that is this one here. It's the one pager. It refers to a letter we received in 2010 that we have an easement agreement that under no circumstances can we construct or place anything above ground level on the last 13 feet of our backyard, which is half the backyard in depth. This is because we're on primary dike. The caveat is binding on us and subsequent owners as we're located on primary dike. The easement requirement has a negative effect on market value, which is actually not reflected in our professional appraiser nor the city's appraisal. The easement agreement is required on all properties in our development located on primary dike. It's clear that this easement would affect the market value of any purchaser doing due diligence. Arguments can be made for increased value to our location with potential green space located behind us. But you will note on the other letter attached by the City of Winnipeg, that's the rezoning application here. If you go to the map on page 2, or the second page, you will find that they have lot 1 behind our development and public reserve. Now you have an arrow showing where our house is located, and there's no green space, nor has there ever been green space. That's been private land for many, many, many years. And in fact, it may not be applicable to, in direct to our particular case for the 2018 assessment, but there has been a rezoning, and they're going to put residential, multifamily, large buildings right directly behind us.
On the RMF.
Yes, yeah. So that's definitely no park influence for our property. In fact, we're going to have buildings behind us. Yet 150 Marine Drive and 67 Portside have full park access because they're sufficiently distant from the development, so there'll be green space directly behind them. So that's a factor that should not be included in our assessment. Now, the city appraiser also claimed that our property taxes should be increased due to recent refinishing of our basement, what he referred to as contributory value. But our appraisal was done with finished basement included in that appraisal value. And again, the basement was only finished 3 years ago, so she's included it as its current value rather than the depreciated value. And 7 of the 10 comparables we submitted from both parties have fully finished basements in their current assessment. So I think it's fair to say that the assessment that we are submitting to you is accurate. But I'd like to point out that no, that's about it for now, if there's any questions.
Okay, well, we'll start with the assessor. If you have any questions, Mr. Ranswack?
First of all, I can't ask a question with the appraiser report because the appraiser is not here, Mrs. Chairman.
I understand that.
And you know, at this level, there's no chance that we can even verify this information. I don't know much about the park. You did say that whatever we have here, the buildings already going up behind you are?
They're starting construction this month.
Okay. That's this month?
Correct.
That wasn't there on April 1st, 2018?
Correct, but what that's saying is that there was never park space, there was always private property behind us. It's just that they rezoned that from whatever residential area it was to multifamily.
Mr. Chairman, I don't have any questions more. I just, you know, this was not going to be an easy one. I discussed that with him already. And I see what I have here. And I do want to point out, this might be the form of
Well,
submission.
you'll
No
have
more
a chance
questions.
for summation if you want. This
Yeah,
is
okay.
questions of his evidence.
Yeah, I'm done.
Okay, thank you.
I have no questions.
Alright.
The information that you brought forward was clear. Thank you.
Gisella?
I just have a couple of questions. One is, I assume you bought the property in 2008. We've got some sale information here that says $110,000 in 2008. That was for the property, I assume?
That was the land because we built the house then, correct?
Okay. And then, do you recall how much did it cost you to build the house?
The total price was $462,126, including the value of the land.
That includes the value of the
Correct.
land?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. I'm also wondering, you mentioned that you had some upgrades since you built the home in 2008, like finishing the basement, for example?
Yes, we finished it in 3 phases. So when we first moved in, we finished 2 bedrooms for the children. That was in 2008. 2014, I completed a basement bathroom, and in 2016, I finished the rest of the basement. So, except for,
We have the
there's a
room,
large
that
storage area.
furnace room with
Furnace room.
storage that.
Okay.
So it was done in a phase of about 300 square feet, then about 120 square feet, and then 770 square feet.
Okay.
Yeah, and that's all included in the appraisal report.
Right, I'm sorry, I didn't have a chance to go through
That's
every
quite all
single
right.
piece of this while you were talking. I was trying to listen to you. Were there any other upgrades to your home at all since you built it, aside from the basement, which you've just described?
Yes, well, we've had to redo the whole yard, right, because it was a new construction.
Right. So
But
the
that's also included-
landscaping?
Correct, landscaping in there, so you'll see pictures in the appraisal of our landscaping as well.
Okay.
Fence, that sort of thing.
How about inside the home?
No. Other than
Kitchens,
the basement.
bathrooms, no?
In fact, most of the homes in that area would probably come standard with granite countertops or whatever. We just stayed with the laminate. There was an issue with our builder, and so we didn't go with that. So ours is actually probably a lower quality than most of the homes in the area for
Thank
that
you.
purpose, yeah.
Thanks. Thank you.
On the appraisal report that you've submitted, they're using 5 sales. East, looking at the map, there, East Oak and Hallfield aren't in your little Norman Park area, are they?
No, that's the issue. It's an 11-year-old development, and there hasn't been a lot of real estate movement in that area as well. One of my comparables is built in 2015, because that's as close as I can find for any houses that are in our particular area. So you'll see a map that I've included as well as at the very end.
Okay, and
Comparables all in the same development.
the Hedgewood Cove, where is that Hedgewood Cove?
Hedgewood Cove is just the street down from us. It's a little cove.
Okay, so that's in the same area.
Correct.
And the appraiser suggesting 605,000, did I
Yes.
see? Okay. Okay, that's all my questions. Thank you for the information. Would you like a little summation, short summation?
A little bit, Mr. Chairman, as I noted here, when we look at the evidence on both sides, just that you probably see this yourself, note on the appraisal report, it was as of April, or rather June of 2019 is effective age. Date on that, even this appraisal report, we consider the post-reference, and the last of the 5 appraised comparable, that was also post-reference. Otherwise, other than that, no question.
Thank you. And would you like?
Yeah, well, I'm not sure, if I look on the first page of the appraisal report, under subject, it says the assessment date is for April 2016.
We're working with April 1, 2018 right now.
Correct.
Yes.
Yeah, so, but the appraisal was done for the 2018 year, not for the current year.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you for coming.
Thank you.
Nice job.
What a dog.
Okay. 90 Mardina Crescent, Jordan Smith.
So everything you said, I'm just.
Hi.
Good morning, are you swearing or affirming today? State your name.
Jordan Smith.
Do you affirm the evidence you'll present today is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Please also want me to share this with all of the applicants as well. Do you have anything to distribute?
Yeah.
Actually, just need 5 for us. Yes, for you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Sure.
Mr. Sesser, when you're ready, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. respect to the subject property in number 90, Martina Crescent, with roll number 080211155500. It's a two-story single-family home. It was built in 2009. A little bit more about the subject property, 2,084 square feet. We have a finished basement of 594 square feet as per record. And an interior corner lot, $509,000 is the assessed value. 4 comparables have been selected here. 2 of them are in Norman Park, and the second, and that's the first and the second. And the last 2 on River Park South. The objective here is to find properties that are highly similar, in which case they are all 2-story home, single family. However, comparable number 2 is it's described here as a 2-story, 1-story. It's sort of like a split level. Some people might think that's what it is. Whereas you go in and in a 2-story, 1-story home, it's like one half of it is sort of like, as you know, higher than the other side. Anyways, looking at comparable number 1 on number 39 Portside Drive, it was built in 2009. When 148 square feet is the size. It doesn't have a basement finish, and that property is at $575,700 as a time adjusted sale price. Looking at those 2 comparables, when you just compare those 2 comparables alone, you would think that certainly comparable number 1 seems to be under-assessed, just on the one property so far. The other ones may tell us differently. Comparable number 298 Martina, which is on the same side of the street, perhaps 2 or 3 houses away from the subject property, was built in 2009, and it's about 115 square feet smaller than that of the subject property, with a finished basement, and the time adjusted sale price that is $32,000 higher than that of the subject property. So we move on then to comparable number 3 on 22 Higham Bay, and this one here is on River Park South. It's a 2-story home built in 2006, and it's about virtually the same size with a rec room. This property is also on an interior corner lot like that of the subject property. This one is a little bit lower in value by $24,000, but it's also older, 2006 year built. Comparable number 4 on Aldgate Road, built in 2009, 223 square feet, and this one is $444,000. Now, as I look at this, these comparables, Mr. Chairman, I might be asked at some point which property I'm putting my most weight on. I'm going to have to say that because Mardina is in the same location, the same street, and just a couple of houses or more away, from what I see here is it could also be superior to that of the subject property, but that's a difference of $2,000, which would lead me to suggest that $509,000 would be a fair value. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Questions of what the assessor has presented? Questions? Lori?
Just a real quick one. You've used 2 comparables from a different neighborhood, River Park South versus Norman Park. Do you consider these 2 neighborhoods comparable, or 'cause looking at some of the numbers, River Park South seems to be like a not quite as expensive of a subdivision, is that true, or?
I would like to think so. I would like to think that, see, with River Park South is a larger area than the Norman Park. From what I remember, Norman Park is west of St. Mary's Road, in that exclusive area, as I've been there for a while. But I'd like to think so, from giving my own opinion. And so therefore, this is why I would come back now to start thinking that the one on 98 Mardina, without a doubt, would have the same land influence and neighborhood influence. And so therefore, I would want to put my weight on the first two, certainly compound number 2.
And there were no more comps in Norman Park that matched up with your subject property? Because you went to Field to River Park South, is that because there were no other comparable sales in your view?
Well, that is also possible, right? When a situation like this, you might want to start thinking,
Right.
well, you might be right. But the reality is that you're looking only for 2-story homes. You're looking for properties that would have over 2,000 square feet on
Sure.
same size. So there would be more properties. And so if I were to look at them and have it in front of me, 10 properties in Norman Park, but 8 other ones are not as similar to the
Okay.
second 2, then I'll choose the other ones.
All right, thank you very much. Thank you.
Mrs. Nolan?
Thank you. I'm just wondering, you say that you think the best comparison is 98 Mardina Crescent, which is just down the street from the
I would
subject,
put my weight on that one, yes.
except the subject property is on an internal corner. And I noticed that you mentioned in your assessment, internal corner, so I'm thinking that is an influence of some kind that you take into consideration?
Well, it's marginal, that's the reality, is that this is an internal corner, and this one would probably be, well, keep in mind that they're not far apart, so if this one is a corner lot, this one is not very far, but the difference here in terms of value could be marginal. The reality is that a corner lot, if it's well taken care of, it's a better property and superior in every respect, except for being in that particular location, that corner lot property could also sell it for higher than the property in the interior. So it's a judgment call, and it's always when you do the when you do the reconciliation. That location alone, because being in a corner, is going to be very marginal.
Then why is it mentioned every time an assessment is done, not only by you, but by other assessors as well? It always states internal corner, external corner as a contributing factor
Okay,
to the value of the home.
It's mentioned there and it's recorded there for a purpose, and the purpose is that when they're doing the modeling, they take it into consideration and they actually would devalue the property by that much insignificant value.
Okay, thank you.
Same like commercial influence.
Thank you. I have no questions. If you would like to
Okay,
give us your information.
yeah, my argument is pretty short and simple.
Okay.
You guys have heard some of the background already today of, the neighborhood. I recently purchased the home. As you can see, we purchased it for $470,000. And this value, I believe, is a fair full market value of the home. I also believe that back in 2018, that 470 would have been a fair market value at that time as well. In respect to a couple of the things noted, it notes that the basement is fully finished. It in fact is not fully finished. The bathroom has not been finished down there. And if you look at the ad, in my package there, the residential buyer report from when we purchased the home, it states there basement fully finished, but if you read in the description, it is referred to as partially finished lower level, with finished rec room and extra bedroom. The bathroom has not been completed, and there are some other finishes in the basement that haven't been completed either. Some trim, doors, closet doors, those sorts of things. in speaking to the comparables and in referring to the discussion regarding the corner lot, I think an important thing to note that with this corner lot, a negative influence on it is that there are condominiums where the corner lot here, and there is a row of houses, and then there's condominiums overlooking those houses, so you're kind of towered in on that one side. And not that it affected in this assessment year, but similarly as explained in the previous house, they are gonna be developing condominiums along the back as well, so we'll soon be fully encased with condominiums. You know, I think something that went into the value of this house, and thinking that at $470 is an appropriate price, and thinking that back then it was as well in 2018. There's a lot of finishes and repairs and things that have been required since we moved in, you know, baseboards, all sorts of finishes like that I think devalue the house. And I think looking at the list date and the sell date further exemplifies that, as the house was on the market for quite some time before we purchased it. And when we did purchase it, we purchased it for considerably under the asking price, and their asking price was quite lower than the assessed value. I don't think that if I were to go and try and sell this house now, or if I had tried to sell that house when it was assessed in 2018, that 509 would have been anywhere near a reasonable number to get for it. And I think, you know, the amount of time it sat on the market kind of shows that. I did provide a couple of more recent comparables. I know you speak of the post 2018, but I was also advised by another party that I was able to bring them and share them with you guys. And I think they kind of just exemplify sort of the direction the neighborhood is going for. They're all selling, you know, under asking price. The price per square foot is very comparable with all these other houses as to what we recently purchased our home for. And like I said, I don't think anything much has changed in the past year. Unfortunately, I couldn't come and argue anything in the past year because we only just purchased it a couple of months ago, so thank you.
You're welcome. For the record, I will state that we don't look at information post-reference, so your friend advised you could bring it, but we won't place much weight on it. Questions, Mr. Assessor?
No questions, Mr. Chairman.
No, thank you.
I just have one question, and that is, I note on the listing here, or the residential client buyer report, which I know we can't consider, but it says reduced price. I'm assuming the price was reduced prior to.
It was, I believe, and that would have been before we even looked at it, I believe they initially put it up at $499.
And I know you.
But I can't say that for sure,
Okay.
but I know they were having some difficulty selling it, and it's one of the reasons why it was presented to us.
Do you have any guesses about why the price was reduced?
Like I said, it was on the market for about 90 days by the time we came across it, and I think they were hoping to get more for it, but like I said, they weren't the handiest of people, you know, and once we moved in, we've noticed that every tap leaks, all the, you know, they tried to do a little bit of flooring work, which was an atrocious job, and the baseboards were just leaned up against the wall, post doing the floor jobs, you know, just a lot of little touches like that throughout the entire house. Even the basement itself, they did themselves. It sort of seems to be that way. There's a lot, you know, some of it is finished well, and a lot of it is kind of like they went around and finished putting, you know, the handles on the walls and those sorts of things. So I think just the state of the house is why it was reduced so many times, and that's why I don't believe that 509 is at all a fair assessment value.
Okay, thank you.
Have you fixed these minor problems with the door handles and things like that?
All we've done is done some paint. Yeah.
On the location,
Mhm.
my colleague here was asking the assessor about the internal corner. Is your lot as good, as valuable as the lot 2 doors down, 3 doors down?
I don't think so, because what we have to look at when we are sitting, you know, we're in the backyard or when we're looking out the front of the house, is we're looking at those condominiums that, you know, you have the houses that are just across the street there, and then those condominiums look into the backyard, and they're at least 4 or 5 stories high, so, I would say no, and I would as well, the lot size being on the corner and the way it's all fenced in, we have what I would consider to be less usable space in the backyard as well, because of that.
Okay. Okay, that's all my questions. Thank you for coming.
Thank you very much for having me.
Thank you for presenting your evidence.
Thank you very much. You too.
Thank you.
35 Marvin Cove, Mr. Tariq.
Are you swearing or affirm today? Please state your name.
Mohammed Tariq.
Do you affirm the evidence you'll present is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. This is for you from the assessor. Do you have anything to share with the panel today?
The only thing is actually this one page, that's the,
You just have the one copy?
yeah,
Is that?
That's on-
That's what you sent with your application as well? Question,
I beg your pardon.
did you see this with the application?
I don't know if I have.
Okay, it's not very legible there,
Okay,
so.
this is fine, thanks.
This is the file copy, that's what he's sharing, so if you guys want to.
Okay, thank you. Okay, whenever you're ready, Mr. Ramswag.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. On the subject property at 35 Marvin Cove with a roll number 08 0211 226 00, again in Norman Park. When you say again, I meant I was just dealing with two other ones actually earlier. 2-story, single family, built in 2009, 2,711 square feet, with a fully finished basement. $667,000 assessed value. And you notice, Mr. Chairman, that we've already had, I think, a couple of other properties that we have post-reference sale. So it doesn't seem as though I'm touching these ones with post-reference sales. So we looked at and let the sale price have an influence on my judgment for the April 1st, 2018 assessment. So that said, there are 4 properties that have been selected, more or less to compare in the subject property. Comparable number 1, 124 Portside Drive on Norman Park, built in 2009 by about 212 square feet, smaller than the subject property, but it does have a rec room, and it is $629,000 for the time adjusted sale price. Comparable number 2 again on Portside Drive, built the same year. And this one is actually 189 square feet larger than that of the subject property. It also has a finished rec room, and it does show that at 91 Portside Drive there is a park influence. $748,000 is the time adjusted sale price on that comparable. And then there is comparable number 3, 22 Yacht Cove, two-story home built a year later than that of the subject property in 2010. It is, excuse me, 169 square feet, larger than that of the subject property, and it's $781,000. And the last one on Port Side and Drive 140, built in 2011. This one is much smaller, $655,900. Now, based on these four comparables, Mr. Chairman, without the benefit of having a post-reference sale, having an adjustment from maybe prepared by a lawyer, it is prepared by a lawyer, without that benefit, the comparables that I have here would suggest that even $667,000 would be a fair assessment. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Do you have any questions of what the assessor has presented here?
No, the question is, I don't know the system, how the city works, but the comparing apple with the oranges is not fair. Every house itself is a different. And we know the quality, how they built it, the builder who is doing the work.
You can present your side of it, but this is questions of what he has. You don't have to ask any questions, but if you do.
No.
No? Okay. Do you have any questions?
I have a question. I'm just looking at the subject sale history. So for 2018, did it sell for $562,000?
Well, that's the record we have, yes. It's also post-reference, but that is the record that we do have.
Well, how is it post-referenced? By the month then?
Well, post-reference is anything after
Yeah.
April 1st, 2018.
Yeah, I know that, so
And
then,
this was prepared as you have, it was 25th of April.
so what,
the
sorry, when
exhibition-
was the sale? When exactly was the sale?
27th of April.
27th of April?
The same 2018 I bought this house. The date is written there, I have the paper from the possession date.
So April 27th, 2018?
Yeah.
Okay, thanks very much. Thanks for
can
clarifying
use
that for
that.
me.
Gisela, questions?
I have no questions, thank you.
I have no questions either, if you would like to.
Yeah, I think
Tell us
he's,
about your property.
just look like, I was listening all the previous things and I think the city is comparing with the prices of the April 2018, right, assessment value. And I think I'm the only lucky person, I bought the house exactly the same time, same day. And that is the only evidence. I did not do much homework, but the actual price I paid $562,000. And even this house is in the market for more than a year. It was sitting there and people are coming, looking at it, and nobody put the offer. So I initially started the offer with $550 and finally I got it at this price. So I think that is the more reasonable value of this assessment property value of $562. And while the your system is saying $667, there's almost more than $100,000 more than the actual value of the house. And that's not fair to pay for that.
Okay. You have any questions?
No question, Mr. Chairman.
Do you have any questions?
Just a clarification, so was this like a motivated sale, like it wasn't a sale from a relative or
No
anything like that?
relative, no connection, no relative, nothing. It was sitting there for more than a year.
I see.
And the guys was moved out and nobody is going close to this. Even the asking price was $650, they started with that, whatever the city value was there. But I talked to the sales agent and they say there is no luck with that.
Was there an issue, like in terms of the quality of the house, like in terms of,
Yes, there is an
finishes
issue
and
because the Ventura
repair?
built this house and they have the different standards, different things. From outside, it looks very presentable with the stones and other things. But inside, it's not like, we don't have those all granny stuff or the nice finishing. And inside is very basic finish. So.
but it was in good repair?
And the other thing is those, I don't know how they utilize the house with the kids and other stuff. So there's a lot of work need to be done.
Prior to the purchase of the home, did you look into what the previous assessment was for the home?
Yes. I think in that was, even the sales guy told me it's around 613 or 620 that time when I bought the house.
Okay, thank you.
On this statement of adjustments, it says vendor take-back mortgage. So the vendor, part of the mortgage came through the vendor?
Even that was, the vendor was so much motivated to sell it, he couldn't sell it, the house. And I didn't have much money, because the bank was not granting me the loan. And then I asked to the salesman if he can take the mortgage back. And he said, okay, I can even do, if you arrange half of it, then I can take it half, the rest of the house. So it's reflecting it that he could not find any other buyer at that price.
Have you done anything to the property since you purchased it? No? It was sitting vacant at the time of the sale? Okay, that's all my questions. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
That concludes this property. And we'll take a 5-10 minute break and we'll resume.
So we'll get in the mail,
Yes, we will receive our decision in the mail from the secretary within a week, 10 days,
Yep.
somewhere around that, 7 to 10 days. I call the meeting back to order.
Good morning. Good morning. Will you swear in or affirm today? Swear, please. All right. Please state your name. Shirley Bell. Do you swear the evidence you'll present today is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God? I do. Thank you. The assessor wanted to share this page with you as well, and you have some evidence to distribute? I do. Great. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thanks. Thank you.
Mr. Ranswack, when you're ready, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Okay. For 47 East Court Drive with the roll number 0800801230 in River Park South. It's a one-story single-family home. It was built in 1986 and it has 1,404 square feet. It also has a finished basement and double-attached garage, and the assessed value $367,000. The 4 compounds here that we have are 2 of them on Dakota Crossing, not with 3 of them on Dakota Crossing, and 1 in River Park South, which is the same as the subject property. Now, Dakota Crossing and River Park South, they're just comparable location. Each of the properties is a one-story single-family home, and they were built around the same time in the 80s, mid-80s. Compartment number 1 is 1,372 square feet with a finished basement and a similar lot size. $376,500 is the time adjusted sale price for compartment number 1, as opposed to the $367,000 that is for the subject property. Compartment number 2 is about 114 square feet smaller. It's got a rec room and double attached garage, similar lot size, and that is $350,000. Compartment number 3 on 15 Hallfield Bay is 1,437 square feet, which is virtually the same size, with a rec room double attached garage at $384,000. And lastly, compartment number 4 on 139 Malmesbury Avenue, 1,320 square feet with a finished basement. Well, this compartment doesn't have a garage and it's 366 square feet. Now, that basically, based on this brief on the compounds that I have here, it certainly suggests that it represents and supports the value of $367,000 for the subject property. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Assessor. Do you have any questions of the assessor's information?
I do. I have pictures of the house and the basement is not finished.
Pictures of your house?
Of the 47 East Code. Yeah, it's not a finished
Well.
basement.
Okay. Is that in your information?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, well, that'll come out when you
Okay.
present yours. This is questions.
Okay.
Questions?
I have no questions, thanks.
Questions?
I'm just wondering what you would consider to be your best comparison of the subject home.
Well, I would certainly choose a, they're so highly similar in this case, one-story single family, except that three of them in sort of different location. The difference is really not, just give me a moment here, I want to see exactly if it's a neighboring location or if it's maybe miles apart. It wouldn't be miles, very many miles apart. That would be 529. 530. Yeah, I knew it wasn't different. I want to just point my finger here. You may be able to see it. You see where I'm pointing my finger?
Yes?
You see a line here? Well, both of these properties are the same. Like 529 is the one I'm pointing my finger to, which is the quote River Park South, and the other one, right over here, is the Dakota Crossing. So it's just, call it a street, whatever. That's in that location. So the land influence and everything else would be highly similar. When you look at the time they were being built in the 80s, when you look at all the sizes of the property, then they're so highly similar that in a situation like this, although I don't emphasize or advocate averages, they're so highly similar that they look very good, all of them. From 376. Let's take the first two, for example. The first two properties, and why am I using the first two and the third one? Because they are each of these have double attached garages. The third one, the last one rather doesn't. Right? It doesn't mean I wouldn't use the last one either, but it doesn't. So let's look at the ones that do have double garages, and they range between 350 and 384.
Mm-hmm.
You take any of those, and you start seeing that 367 becomes like a fair value. In a situation like this, the exception to when I make averages, do averages when they're so highly similar, and two properties you can't determine between one or the other, then I would say let's look at what the average should be. And so 376 would seem very fair. Does that answer your question?
Thank you.
I have a question on the location. I mean, there's nothing really within a few blocks of the subject property, but that's a pretty big area with lots of houses. How come we have to go way out so far away to
May I
get something
approach your bench,
comparable?
Mr. Chairman, and show you the location?
Well, I'm seeing on your map, yes.
Oh, okay, that map is an enlarged map. If I show you what I have here in the whole city map here, you see that it's next door to each other. I should show you, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. But there's a few thousand houses on this side of Dakota.
This is what those are for, right here.
Okay,
29
yeah.
and 30.
529 and 530, yes, I
It's still
understand.
not far.
Okay.
And just for your benefit here, this is what we're showing you, 529. If you notice, you have the 529 neighborhood characteristic area and that, and the 530. So you have the 529 and 530.
So is it your position that these areas are homogeneous? This big area is
Yes.
homogeneous?
Yes.
Okay. That's all my questions. If you'd like to give us your information,
Okay, so
please.
on April 8th of 2017, the house was professionally appraised at $330,000. And there's pictures which show that the basement is not finished.
Okay, April 8, 2017, yes, thank you, sorry, okay. Okay,
And then I went and did the time-adjusted price on the sales book. And it averaged in the, between 0.78 and 2.3% of the increases between the 2 years. The closest one I found was a sale price of $335,000, and it was also one story. And that was on 170 John Forsyth Road, and its sale price was $335,000. The time-adjusted price was $338,700. So the
where,
increase-
sorry, where are you reading from?
From my first page, the summary page.
Okay, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah. So that increase was 1.092%. So between the 330 and to go to 367 in 1 year just seems a little bit high. And I
Okay,
got current pictures and there's been no improvements done on the home.
okay. And the appraised value is based on these three sales here? was-
Right, he did an analysis,
Okay.
and at the last page he says the value is 330,
Okay.
just before the pictures.
Okay. Questions, Mr. Chairman? Mr. Assessor, pardon me.
Thank you.
You're the chairman.
Yeah.
Thank you,
That's
Mr.
great.
Chairman. Thank you.
Any questions, Mr. Assessor?
All right, now let's look at this here, because it's your evidence I'm gonna ask you. Are you aware then that in the average for the property prices in Region 10, which is part of your area, is 4.21, but yet your calculation here is 1.09%?
I just looked at the, oh, sorry.
I beg your pardon, ma'am?
I didn't know if I should interrupt or not.
No, I don't. I asked the question so you can answer.
Okay,
No.
yeah, it's just, I just looked at the increase for the whole area and what the,
But the whole area is
Spread was-
whole area is 4.21% for 2 years. Are you showing between 0.78?
no, I just did a 1 year. I just did between, when I had it appraised and the next year, which would be the 2018, which would be the year, that the assessment is based on.
And you had this properly appraised when?
April 7th of 2017, and the appraisal's in here.
April 1st, 2017, but it wasn't done for assessment purposes, it was done for other matters, right?
It was done
You know-
because I was considering selling it.
Okay. All right. Okay. typically when I look at these appraisal reports, when I don't get a chance to verify any information and so on. Oh, you did say that your house doesn't have a finished basement.
No,
Do you have any part of it that is finished, or is it all concrete?
so it's got insulation on it. There's a picture in there. There's two pictures, one is the current and then one is the one that the assessor did, the
Do
appraiser
you have
did.
ceiling, you have anything at all?
No,
But see, the reality is that when we have that label as basement finish, we have either yes or no. But what doesn't show here is the size. Sometimes I try to do that when I get time,
Mhm.
but it doesn't show the basement, even if it has 100 square feet, it either show yes or no. So that's what I'm trying to determine if there's anything. Do you have one room at all?
no, nothing.
Do you have a washroom at all?
No,
You have a shower, no nothing? How many washrooms do you have in your house?
two.
Two?
There's an ensuite and a regular one.
You have a full bath, right?
Yeah,
And that's a regular bath. And in your bedroom, you have what, a half a bath?
shower.
You have a shower and a bath?
No, just a shower.
A shower? And you have a half bath somewhere else? Nowhere? Okay. Difficult to verify that. And your appraisal is done. It's hard to remember or read all of these things. Okay. No, I don't have any other question, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
Thank you. Lori?
I have no questions, thank you.
So,
Yes, I'm wondering, I see that the owner of the property is the estate of Donald J. Sanford.
Right,
And I see that you do not live at the property.
right.
And are you the executor of Donald
Yes, I have
Sanford's
the,
estate?
I have my probate here.
She's also
One's here.
listed as an owner.
Okay, it doesn't list that on,
I don't know
Actually, I
why.
phoned what word to tick off, which.
oh, okay, I just wanted to make sure that we're dealing with the right party here.
Sure.
Is anybody living in the home currently? Are you renting the home out?
Yes,
Okay, and can you tell me how much you are renting the home for?
1,600 a month.
1,600 a month. And you said that you were thinking of selling the home, that's why you had?
Previously, yeah. 'Cause my dad
Previously.
went into a nursing home,
Okay,
so I had to declare him incompetent.
okay.
So that's why I had to go through all this, and then I decided in the end not to sell it and to use the money in order to supplement him.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, because
Okay.
cigarettes were like $500 a month, so
Yes.
it was helpful to that. Then he passed away.
Okay, I'm sorry to hear
Yeah.
that. Okay, thank you very much.
Okay.
That clarifies that for me.
So would you say the house is in average condition?
Yes, same condition as it was when they did the assessment for the.
That's all my questions. Thank you.
Thanks very much.
For the
Thank you so
information.
much.
Okay.
Thank you for your patience.
Time for lunch now.
Yeah.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Do you guys need a few more minutes?
What we did is we gave a memo slip to the secretary, and she should be mailing it to you.
She is, but I only have 2 pictures right now. You said there was no 5.
Yes, do you want the memo slip to that be passed?
No, I don't think so.
It's coming, we can refer to it, we don't,
We've got other things we can do
Yeah,
in a
yes,
few more
yeah.
minutes.
it's
This-
basically just the truth of what we're saying.
She was here earlier tonight and left, so she has left her brief for the assessor and for you guys. I want to read that to the board. You know, has to get to the.
Ready for it. So we're ready.
She left, so we'll do the file copy.
for the pictures. Mr. Assessor, the property at 83 Twickenham Court, the people were here but left.
Uh-oh.
And I'm wondering if you can read this one into the record. Roll number, address.
That she left.
Okay. Okay, you want me to read that out for you, Mr. Chairman? Number 83, Twickenham
Yes.
Circle, with the roll number 0808-121-8300 on Dakota Crossing, and you just seen the location of that in the map I showed you a moment ago.
Okay.
On 590 Dakota Crossing, just way down south. It's a two-story single-family home that was built in 2014, 2,103 square feet with a full basement, but there is no development in the basement. Property is assessed at $554,000. We have a sale price here where the owner bought it 4 years prior to April 1st, 2018 for $424,000. So let me repeat again. Prior to April 1st, 2014, 2018, which was sometime in 2014, which is 4 years ago, they paid $424,000. A time adjustment will also show that it would be sufficient to reach the $454,000 after 4 years. That said, the four comparables that I have here, comparable number 1 on 79 Cotsworth Place. Two-story single family built in 2016, virtually the same square footage size-wise. Lot size about the same, heavy traffic, $444,000 for this one. Comparable number 2, 75 Cotswood Place. Built in 2016, a little larger, 2,226 square feet, about the same lot size, $461,000. Comparable number 3, Ravens Den Drive, 145 Ravens Drive, 2-story, single family, 2016 year build, 2,041 square feet, 10,000 square feet lot size, about the same size, heavy traffic, $471,000. Comparable number 4, William Johnson Court, that's number 22, William Johnson Court, 2-story single family built in 2016, 2,058 square feet, again nothing in the basement, $476,000. All these are comparables, Mr. Chairman, support the value of the subject properties. Thank you.
Thank you. Questions from the panel?
I have a question. I'm looking at your 4 comparables, and 3 and 4 are further away. Which one do you consider the most comparable to the subject?
Well, when I look at the, and I'm sorry, repeat your question again to me, please.
Well, I'm looking at your 4 comparables, and these 2 are 3 and 4 are further away from the subject, and I'm just noting, is there a change in the neighborhood value in general? Only looking at the time-adjusted sale price per square foot, it goes up as it's further away, and even though all of the characteristics of the building seem to be similar, as well as the lot with the heavy traffic.
I can appreciate the question. Whilst it appears that this here is so far away, based on the fact that it's all in the same characteristic area, which is considered a small area, and this here, and again, it appears far, from my point of view, it's really not far away. And that I would not make any location adjustment for properties that is the same neighborhood characteristic area. But I suppose it's in sort of a busy street and so on. In this case, I don't see that.
Keep
They're all comparable.
Okay.
And the values are so highly similar to each other. The properties themselves are all two-story home in the same year, built around the same time. None of them have basement finish. Each of them have double attached garages. And the size-wise, they're very close. Of course, they will vary slightly in value, as you can see. Between 444 is the lowest, and 476 is the highest. At 454, again, I think it's a very fair value.
Okay, thank you.
I do want to, let me see, I do want to point out that this property was discussed by one of the assessors in the office with the homeowner, and they have made an adjustment from what would have been calibrated to $462,000, and made a slight adjustment in favor of the owner for $454,000. 454. Obviously, that wasn't acceptable to them. Is that why they're appealing? But we don't think that we can make any further adjustment to that. We think it's fair, and I ask that you conform it.
Thank you.
I have no questions, thank you.
Neither do I. Okay, we will move on then to 37 Millfield Drive,
That's us?
please.
What's your address, Mr. Chairman? 37 Millfield, did you say?
Yes.
37 Millfield, yes.
My name is Martin Stadler.
She will swear you in first, please.
Did you want to swear in?
Yes.
Okay.
I am from.
Okay.
Yes.
Please state your name.
Martin Stadler.
Do you affirm the evidence you'll present today is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, I do.
And you'll be speaking as well?
Yeah, probably refer.
Okay. You'll affirm?
Yep.
Please state your name.
My name is Merrick Stadler.
Do you affirm the evidence you'll present today is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? You guys have electronic photos to share. Do you
Yes,
have
we do.
other things that you'd like to distribute?
I don't believe so this time.
Okay.
Well, we'll hear from the assessor first. Mr. Ramsrack, when you're ready, 37 Millfield.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Okay, 37 Millfield Drive with the roll number 0800049474 00. One-story single-family home was built in 1960. No, nothing in the basement, but it's a full basement. 925 square feet, with a lot size of 8,793 square feet. $224,000 is the assessed value of this property, and I should point out that it was calibrated at $224,000 based on how we have the condition of the interior and the exterior of the home, Mr. Chairman, as being fair. And I should point out that when we make those changes to properties from what would typically be average for the vast majority of properties, and then we start making those changes in condition, then the value is going to be set accordingly, which means that the value is going to be not much lower for a property that is considered fair, more especially if it's fair inside and fair outside. So The four comparables that we have here, comparable number one on 161 Moore Avenue, one-story single-family home built around the same time, about 121 square feet larger than that of the subject, a smaller lot size at $235,000. Comparable number two on 21 Riverbend Avenue, so one-story home built in 1955. This one's got a part basement. 6,832 square feet, which is a little bit less than that of the subject. $258,000, and that we're looking at about $34,000 higher than that of the subject property. We consider that comparable number four would be more or less in average condition possibly. That's why it is that much higher than that of the subject. Comparable number 3, 173 Crofton Bay, built in 1962. 1,047 square feet with a finished basement. $246,000 is the assessed value, or time adjusted value rather, on that comparable. And lastly, comparable number 4 and 18 Blackmore Avenue, single family home built in 1971. A little bit larger than that of the subject property, 962 square feet with a full basement, with some development in the basement, and the lot size that is as comparable as that of the subject property. This one is $295,500, a difference of $70,000 that would account for the condition, and would suggest that comparable number 4 would definitely be superior to that of the subject property. Indeed, we have all four properties in terms of time adjusted sale price that are higher, although of course comparable number 1 is only marginally higher than that of the subject property. The subject property is the lowest of all the property, and certainly appears fair. When we consider the two lower properties, or certainly the first one being the lowest, and have a lot size that is 3,000 square feet smaller, that would come for a little bit of difference in value, and that $224,000 certainly appears to be fair. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Do you have any questions of
Yes.
the information that he has presented?
Yes, first of all, have you entered the property?
No, I haven't, but I did see some pictures of it that we have online.
Okay.
But I don't know if those pictures are current, but we have some pictures. I understand you have some other pictures that you would be presenting before long.
Yes. So you haven't entered the property, so you really have no idea what devastating condition the interior of the home is. I mean, it looks pretty good from the outside, but.
Will you take that mic?
Oh, I'm so
I
sorry.
don't hear.
I think he said no. The answer to the question
It
was
was
no,
no.
he hasn't been there.
Thank you. Yeah, so that's the first question, which makes a lot of other questions moot. Anything else?
No, nothing else. There's anything else already.
Okay, so that's it, I guess.
Lori? Question?
I just have a really short question. You cited that the time adjusted sale price was lower than the subjects, but the square foot sale price versus the assessment per square foot. The assessment per square foot is higher than two of the comparables time adjusted sale price per square foot. Is there some rationale for that?
Well, not
Like
to,
you were talking the total value.
I wouldn't want to confuse you, but you would recall I say I don't really do emphasis on price per square foot. I know some people do, I know some assessors do, I know some panel members do, and I can appreciate that. However,
I kind of look at both.
pardon me?
I look at both,
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
I do scan it, I look at it, I glance at it, but I don't emphasize it because that much more to start explaining. Indeed, whilst we make adjustment on these properties, or should be making adjustment on these properties, the same way we make adjustment with the price per square foot. All right? So rather than looking at price per square foot, make adjustment for that, and then come to price and the overall value, make an adjustment for that, I concentrate on one to minimize that problem. So that said, indeed it is higher, and when the property, the long and short is, when the property has a higher price per square foot, and all things being equal, then economy of scale will be taken into consideration. In other words, the smaller the property, the higher it will be per square foot.
Okay, so you're attributing it to economies of scale. Okay, thank you.
Gisela, question?
I have no questions, thank you.
Do you have any record of inspections of this property over the years?
Let me just check, Mr. Chairman, I think there might be some notes here. I can tell you what and who. I may not tell you the who, I can tell you the what, right? Okay, he's the property assessor, there's a conversation with one of the assessor, just a conversation. And then at the wrap, the homeowner cited the interior issues. The quality was lowered from average to fair to account for deficiencies. 2018 value falls within the range, so no indication of inspection there. Moving up, wrap again in 2000, previous time. They claim that the home is not in good condition, it's in terrible condition according to them. Homeowner did not show up for inspection she made with a TA. So at some point in time, it does show that there must have been an arrangement to do an inspection of the property, but they failed to show up.
But
So
is
it's
there
not
a
that-
date on that?
The date is on the 23rd of March 2015. And according to the assessor, naturally we think that no change until condition in building can be verified.
And that's the last time that
And
anybody's...
that's the last attempt, I think. There was no attempt afterwards.
Okay.
There may have been previous, there was an exterior inspection, left the card in the mail. We did a basement finish, like you would expect, like it happens from time to time. They added a little bit, but mind you, according to the current brief, there is no basement finish, so whatever was put on would have been taken out. You know, so it does show that effective 2014, so that would have come off afterwards. So moving up, based on the state and condition. Apparently, they're claiming that the condition has been terrible over the years, but from what I see here, that one attempt that was made when they didn't show up. So before you reach out to somebody and they don't want to show up and you would complain that it's not bad, I don't think that we should be responsible for that.
Okay, well, yes, we'll take that into account. I think I shouldn't get ahead of myself here, but I'm getting the idea that this is going to be based on the condition of the property. Is that?
Based on a condition, and also there's an explanation why there's a very reasonable explanation why the inspections weren't done.
Okay, but I would suggest that an inspection of the property should be done. For us to make adjustments based on pictures isn't as good as you getting in contact with an assessor.
That is
having them
one of
come
our
and look
goals,
at
is
it.
to get that done.
Pardon me?
And one of our goals is to get an inspection done.
Okay, the floor is yours.
My name is
Sure.
Martin Stadler. I'm
Okay.
the ex-husband and father of my son, who is the executor. We are here talking about a property that used to belong to Carolyn Stadler, my former wife, his mom. She was severely disabled, and unfortunately she passed of cancer last year, about a year ago in May. Prior to that, she was quite ill. The story goes back to 2011. I'll be very brief because I don't want to waste time. In 2011, she was working at Rona. She started making some small renovations on a house. She got ill, disabled, ended up on employment and income assistance because of her disability. She had a severe mental illness, a history of that went before. She had a flare-up of her illness, she couldn't work, she lost her job. And right around the same time, she had a catastrophic failure at the house. The ceiling has collapsed because the roof has failed, and the living room ceiling had collapsed under the weight of wet vermiculite. Basically, there was no vapor barrier, there was basically drywall, wax paper, vermiculite, and roof. The roof leaked, she had a swimming pool worth of wet vermiculite, it collapsed. She was in a panic. We, at that point, were divorced some 20 years. I decided to help her with it. We took the ceiling down, we had to put on hazmat suits because the vermiculite is often suspected of containing asbestos, depending which mine it comes from. If it comes from a particular mine in Montana, it has never been tested, but we removed all of it. The problem now was that she was very ill. She had no money to proceed with the repairs. So from 2011 on, she has had, and you have the pictures, those were taken yesterday. That house hasn't changed since 2011. That's what it looked like in 2011. That's
Okay.
when it was gutted. The ceilings are all gone. There is no insulation in most of the ceilings, just open rafters. There is 2 bedrooms have been gutted, walls, vermiculite taken out. She has 1 finished bedroom. I think you see that in the pictures. It's the blue room.
We haven't looked at it.
We haven't looked at the pictures.
I can put the pictures on here.
Well,
No,
let's just
that's okay.
wait a
We'll
minute.
just, let me talk quickly. So basically, of the total square footage of the house, she has 100 usable square feet. Okay? 100-foot square bedroom. That is finished. That's what she lived in. She lived in horrific poverty. The kitchen has been gutted. There is a stove, but there is no hot water. Her hot water tanks had failed. We had purchased new hot water tanks. We didn't get a chance to install them before she passed away. So so there's no hot water. There is only cold water running in the kitchen. There is an unfinished toilet down the basement. There is no light in that room. She has a new furnace, which was purchased. The house was being renovated. It's just that it was being renovated at a very, very slow pace because she didn't have the funds and she didn't have the physical health. And we were helping her with it as much as possible. The money just wasn't there. The house is not in a sellable condition. And it is, for a purpose of probate, we had, unfortunately, we misplaced the document, but we had done an appraisal for the purpose of probate. It came in at $180,000, which is basically the value of the land. That didn't take into account the cost of demolition and cleanup. That's if the land was empty, it was 100. As it stands now, if a sale was forced and the house had to be demolished, okay, it would be worth less, $180,000 less the cost of demolition and cleanup. The intent is not to demolish the house. We have done a lot of renovations, but we have not completed them to the level of where the house is actually livable or sellable. My son has his official address at that house, but he lives with me. Because, once the house is built, rebuilt, we have to check, make sure there's no asbestos residue. We have measured, we have bought a widget from Home Depot, $300 a meter. We have measured, there was 850 becquerels per cubic meter of radiation, as in xenon gas, radon gas, pardon me. Okay, so according to the U.S. government Department of Health, the maximum safe level is 50. We measured 850 on one occasion in that basement. So there's once the house is finished, or if they build a new house, doesn't matter. They're going to have to implement mitigation techniques, which are expensive.
Okay, I think
The sewer also has been adapted from a septic tank, so the sewer system.
We had a sewer backup last year, we called in Roto-Rooter, they came in, they cleared the sewer, but they said there's major issues, the sewer will have to be replaced possibly, because it was a modified septic system that was reconnected to the city services, and the plumber couldn't determine the path of the actual sewer.
Well, I'm still
It's
of
a
the mind
project.
that this is going to require an inspection by the assessment department, but if you wanna, if you could run through the pictures, maybe we
Sure.
can.
Do you wanna show them all, or do you wanna just pick a few?
We can just go through them fairly quickly.
Okay, yeah.
We'll do a slideshow.
I took those
Okay.
yesterday.
Okay, I have a slideshow here, why don't you run that for the
Okay, so
assessor,
I'll-
and then,
Okay. And I'll comment, how's that?
sure, 'cause- but now we're
And
gonna
I-
need each of these in the file.
Yep,
Just-
well, that's fine.
Like, there's 60 pictures here, so.
Okay, now this is the stairway going down the basement. You can see,
Just, I'm waiting for my computer to catch up here.
we're
Okay,
on image number 2. Okay, image number 1 is looking down the basement stairs. You can see a lot of structural work has been done, okay? I have a degree in engineering, I know what I'm doing, but it's just that the money and the ability to do this wasn't there. So there's a lot of reframing structurally, it's sound. We've had an engineer look at it, a civil engineer. My background is in computer.
Where is this? Is this upstairs?
That's the
That's
entrance.
from the kitchen looking down the basement.
That's right when you walk in through the main entrance.
And you can see that little bright spot on the right-hand side, that's a window that faces the living room. It's an interior opening. Okay, next. Yeah, that's looking through that opening, square opening. You can see the wiring has been done. That's been inspected, that's all to code. But again, it's unfinished. That's the living room.
Next one's the living room.
Okay, it's being, the ceiling has been removed, the vermiculite has been removed, and it's being rebuilt as a vaulted ceiling. Again, it's been inspected by a civil engineer. It's, it's fine. Next. Yeah, this again is.
I have this on automatic, so it's just
okay.
going. I thought that's what you were doing as well.
So that again is the living room. Okay, you can see there's temporary lighting.
Yeah.
That's down to code, but it's temporary, right? That's all pictures of the living room. More pictures of the living room?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just really cluttered.
Yeah, and to the right, where's that white cabinet? That's the kitchen. Future kitchen.
And that skylight and the roof leaks there, by the way.
Oh, okay, yeah, she also got HRAP to come in. Pause, that's a kitchen skylight. Several years ago, when she was still alive, Caroline got HRAP to rebuild her roof. The job was not done properly. It was not, it's not supposed to happen that way, but the contractor was recommended by HRAP. She didn't pick the contractor. HRAP, although they're not supposed to, they recommended the contractor. The contractor sloughed off the job, the roof leaks all over. When HRAP tried to find the contractor to go after him to repair the job, they found him in prison.
So yeah, that thing looks like a sieve.
You can see the puddle on the floor here.
Is anybody living in there now? Are you living in there?
No. It's his official residence, but physically he's not living in there.
Okay.
I keep an eye on the place, but that's about it.
And we go there from time to time to pick at it, and we want to finish the house and repair it. I know what I'm doing. I've rebuilt my own house, so I have a lot of experience. But the money isn't there. This is where she lives. That's the 100 square feet. It's a blue room. That is hand painted artwork on the rim of the ceiling, and hand done stucco. I did that years ago.
That's the only functional room in the house.
The blue room, yeah. You can see it's beautifully done. So we don't want to demolish the place, obviously. We want to fix it. But it's not in a sellable condition. It's kitchen.
Yeah, this is the basement down here. You see the gray bags and a bunch of,
The basement used to be sort of finished, but we had to take down the suspended ceiling because we redid all the wiring and plumbing,
Ahead of
so.
us, we're just the blue room.
okay. You'll see that one in a few slides.
Yeah, there was those, that blue room that was done with a stencil, that's all hand painted, it took forever. That was before the living room ceiling collapsed on her. I would have done that about 2010-ish. When you say, is anybody living in it, poor Carolyn lived in that for a number of years. And social assistants did not give her enough money to fix it. She made repeated requests. In fact, social assistance wasn't even giving her enough money to pay the taxes. She was unable to deal with her affairs. She was unable to make this kind of an appeal. She was unable to get her affairs in order. She was overtaxed for the last 8-9 years. Several weeks ago, because the estate has no cash, only the house. Pause it, Mark, for a minute.
Yeah.
We had to take out a loan, and we paid $11,000 in back taxes, which was 90% penalties. Because she was unable to deal with it, and we were going to lose the house in a tax sale. So we borrowed money, paid $11,000 in penalties. The city charges somewhere around 46% if you amortize the penalties that they charge every month, and in September. There's the 2 new water tanks, okay? They're ready to be installed. We need to bring the plumbing to them.
Yep, but they're not installed.
They're not installed, so there's no hot water. There is a brand new furnace that costs $10,000, okay? This is a property that's going to be valuable when we finish it. But it's not a property you can sell, clearly, or anybody could move into. We got a disturbing, we did get one disturbing email, like we've sort of been emailing with the city department back and forth, and in one of the emails, the gentleman replied, well, you could tear down the house, you could split the lot, and you could make more money on the lot, and therefore, we feel that the tax assessment is fair.
That bathroom doesn't work, by the way.
So, I don't see how somebody can tax a house based on a speculative value, which would require demolition of the house, would require cleanup of the property, would require a zoning variance to split the lot, which is by no means guaranteed, okay? And basically sell 2 lots. You can imagine that the neighbors would be up in arms and they would contest that rezoning very, very heavily.
Who told you that?
A city assessment department in an email. A
I didn't
gentleman.
tell him that, so.
No, I'm saying your department, sir, not you in particular.
No, we've never met you before, so.
Okay.
So what we're trying to do is to get the taxes
That's
down
all
to,
of them, that should be all of them.
what we're trying to do is get the taxes down to a reasonable level, give Marek an opportunity to fix the house, and then you can actually have some kind of a real value on it. Right now, I would argue it's the land minus the demolition.
Okay.
And that's what that real estate, we have the document, we just didn't bring it with us. The real estate agent came in about, and he didn't consider the cost of the demolition, it just says the value of the land was $180,000, not counting the demolition. And that was the document that was subjected for our probate, because the cost of the probate is based on the value of the.
Okay, we'll see if we have any questions. Do you have any questions?
This may sound like an unreasonable question, but I'm gonna ask it anyways. Is there a clear title on this house?
Is there what?
Clear title.
Who owns the
Caretaker.
land?
Carolyn Stadler owns it. The bank has been paid off. She had life insurance to pay off her mortgage.
Okay.
So there's let me qualify that. There is no mortgage, but there is about a $15,000 lien by the Department of EIA.
Okay, that doesn't really affect this value.
So then it's reasonable to assume then that, before I ask that question, I'm gonna ask this one. When are you contemplating and finishing this renovation?
I would assume next 2-3 years.
2 or 3 years?
2-3 years. I would estimate, given my experience, and I've done this, like I've done a lot of rentals on my own home. I would estimate it's gonna cost anywhere between $50,000 to $80,000 to get that house into a livable condition. And we simply don't have the funds.
There was a reason why I asked that first question, because the house is a clear title, as long as you have the ability to pay back for it, and you're gonna have to get $80,000 according to you anyways, or $50,000.
Yes, sir.
Agree with me. I see no reason why somebody can get the money to actually borrow the money against the house and do the house as quickly as possible. I mean, that's the logic behind it, right?
I have the
So
answer
it's-
to that
In other
question.
words,
Well,
it's
we won't get into this
we
of
wouldn't get into
who's
that.
going to borrow.
Sir, I have the answer for that question.
We don't need I don't think we need the answer for
Uh,
that question.
the,
It's not, we're looking for the value of the property, not
Property, yeah.
reasons why you're not fixing it or et cetera. That's, no.
My son intends to do that.
Yeah.
The problem is that he's only been working for a short time, so qualifying for a mortgage is a problem. It's gonna take some time.
Okay.
I spend a lot of time in university, and I need to finish my university, so
Yeah.
fixing the house has been a
Yeah,
bit of a-
that's good, and it's not up to us to try to decide how you should fix your house. We're looking for the value here.
Yeah,
And you're so right, I thought it was being helpful, Mr. Chairman, but I knew at some point in time you probably pulled me up for that.
Okay, is that
Oh, I'm okay
your
with that.
questions?
Eh?
You've done with your questions?
Yeah, I'm done.
Lori, do you have
I
any
mean,
questions?
I don't have any questions, thank you.
Gisela?
I still don't understand who owns the home.
The home is presently in the name of Carolyn Stadler,
Who is deceased?
who is deceased. It's a matter of transferring the land to him as an executor,
Through probate?
and the probate has been done.
Okay.
So it's a matter of legally transferring the title from Carolyn Stadler, deceased, to Merrick Stadler, the executor, and then from Merrick Stadler, the executor, to Merrick Stadler, the person, because he's the sole beneficiary. The reason this hasn't been done yet, she's been deceased for a year and a few months, the reason that this wasn't done earlier is because there was $11,000 owing on the city taxes. We just paid those. He borrowed money to pay the taxes. So there is no money owing to the city. So it is now, that's part of the way of clearing the path to transfer the land. The other block, of course, is the EIA lien, which will have to be paid or postponed in order for, so it's now a question over the next 2-3 months for the lawyers to transfer the property. It's a two-step from Carolyn to estate, from estate to Merrick.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. And I have no questions, just advice that you should get in touch with the assessment department and have them come out and look at it. But we'll do what we can, but,
They were not willing,
Indeed.
which is the reason we are here.
okay.
They didn't, well, the minute they heard about the vermiculite, they didn't want to enter the property. Because, vermiculite has between 70 and 90% chance of being contaminated with high levels of asbestos.
I mean,
Well,
it's
you
been
should- you should-
removed, but the house hasn't been checked to see if there's any residue.
Then you could phone them and tell them it's been removed, but, okay. It's a tough one, but leave it with us. We'll see what we can do.
Our looking forward is we want to be taxpayers, but we have to fix the house first.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that.
And I want to thank you for your flexibility with the laptop. We will be better prepared if we, heaven forbid, have to do this again.
Next
So-
time you do this, you bring that appraisal with you and,
And we will, yeah.
okay.
Then, one
Thank you.
question. Our first goal is to get a fair value on a house, obviously, which is why we're here. Then, I don't know what the process is, we get conflicting advice from city. We need to look at ways if in fact it is lower. It's been like that since 2011, and Carolyn's been overtaxed for all those years. I don't know if there's any path to reversing that.
That's not something we can do. We can only deal with the 2020 assessment because that's all that's under appeal.
Right,
That's,
but that will be a base, and then we have to find a way to.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for coming.
Thank you for your
Thank
patience.
you,
Okay.
thanks very much.
We're done.
Just need a minute to.
sure we give it to the right place, the right person.
Okay, we have more to go here, so make it not over yet.
Okay.
We're done.
Thank you.
So,
Either or, it's okay.
Uh,
Start at the top.
32 Crystal Avenue, we'll start at the top,
Start from the top.
32 Crystal Avenue.
Okay. Thirty-two Crystal Avenue. Phone number
Here's the lady's email.
08001715000. One-story single-family home, built in 1922, 720 square feet in the park basement for $190,000 assessed value. Four comparables here that we have. First comparable on number 19 Inman Avenue, built around the same time, one-story home, 740 square feet, park basement as well, same lot size, $159,000.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming.
You too.
Any contact with this
No
person?
contact, no.
No contact. Okay, thank you, leave that with us.
$189,000 is the time adjusted sale price. Comparable
That-
number 2,
That's enough
That's
for,
good enough?
for that one, yes. So we will move on to 67 Sadler Avenue.
67 Sadler. All right, 67 Sadler, rule number, you don't want the rule number now, do you? Still want it?
Yes, the roll number and the address, please.
Okay, all right. 0808-121-7675. It's a one-story, single-family home built in 2017. 1,432 square feet is a full basement. $390,000 is the assessment. Comparable number 1,
Any contact with the owner?
no contact. That's good enough for you? No more?
Yeah, you're recommending that the assessment be maintained? Okay, that's,
Next one?
leave that with us then, that's 63 Seaside Drive.
Okay, I have a rec here for you, and I'll give you my.
Okay,
Couldn't do 51 or any other thing like that because of time, Mr. Chairman.
was there contact with the owner here?
Well, yeah, that's how I got that.
They're
That's good
satisfied,
enough for you?
are they satisfied with this, they're happy? with it?
Absolutely satisfied. She even gave me a smile on a return email.
Okay, that's good for us, thank you, leave that with us.
7 Hawthorne,
7 Holborn,
okay. 7 Hawthorne, no contact. Rule number 0800615020. One story, single family, built in 1987. 1,254 square feet with a full basement and fully finished. $372,000 assessed value. No contact.
okay, thank you very much.
Confirm?
Leave that with us.
All right.
94 Badabancourt,
Okay. '94 Badabancourt. I have here Urek, my email.
Oh, thanks.
more.
Bless you.
Thank you.
May I ask what the recommendation to 522 is based upon?
The comparables, based on the comparable sale, it seems to be that we were, could have been, call it a little an outlier, in this case after revision, I realized that it requires some adjustment. And if you want the same comparables I use that you have.
33 Carriage House Road,
I beg your pardon,
33 Carriage House Road,
33 Carriage House Road. I have another rec here for you. I don't know if I could have done any more recommendation. No, I couldn't have because I didn't have any more time on it. I don't time to do anything.
contact with the owner.
Yes.
Thank you very much. 3 Blackwater, Blackberry Bay.
No contact on that one. Alright, so you want me to read that out to you, right? 3 Blackberry, rule number 060216-65000 in Windsor Park. It's a 1-story single family built in 1958 with some renovation done to it that requires an effective age change to 1968. 1,090 square feet with a finished basement, $304,000. The post reference sale at $317,000. The assessment is $304. No contact made. And I ask that you confirm that.
Very good, thank you.
Number 132 Talon Gate.
Okay, 132 Talon Bay.
With a roll number 08003401000. It's a pre-level split built in 1961. 1,040 square feet with a 304 square feet finished basement. It's got a sunroom. $297,000 assessed value. No show, no contact. I ask that you confirm that.
Yes, these people were here.
Oh, they were here, were they?
They said their problem was that they don't have a garage, so they were advised to contact your department to have the garage removed from the assessment, and they will be doing that apparently.
They'll be doing that, okay. When they do that, Mr. Chairman, I can assure you we'll make that necessary adjustment even afterwards.
Thank you.
For the 2020 roll, right?
Yes, we can do that. I don't know if you'll be putting whatever subject to that condition. I don't know what you want to do. I don't tell other people what to do with their lives and how to run their business. Unless it's affecting me.
It's good philosophy.
You read 132 Talon into the roll?
Yeah, I did.
Yes. Okay, thank you. That concludes the hearing. Thank you for coming, Mr. Ramswack.
Thank you.
Thank you for your fine presentation.
Thank you, sir.